The wise student hears of the Tao and practices it diligently. The average student hears of the Tao and gives it thought now and again. The foolish student hears of the Tao and laughs aloud. If there were no laughter, the Tao would not be what it is. Hence it is said, the bright path seems dim. Going forward seems like retreat. The easy way seems hard. The highest virtue seems empty. Great purity seems sullied. A wealth of virtue seems inadequate. The strength of virtue seems frail. Real virtue seems unreal. The perfect square has no corners. Great talents ripen late. The highest notes are hard to hear. The greatest form has no shape. The Tao is hidden and without name. The Tao alone nourishes and brings everything to fulfillment. This chapter is all about the difference between how followers of the Tao appear on the outside and what is actually happening in their own internal world. Taoism is not a path that leads to great glory, at least not directly. If a follower of the Tao does gain the admiration of those around him or her, it is not intentional, but a natural result of what the Tao has led them to achieve. Much of the time, however, those who follow the Tao will find themselves the objects of incredulity and even open ridicule. I, for one, enjoy Lao Tzu's acknowledgement of the scoffing the Tao often attracts. Lao Tzu had a good sense of humor, and to me, I can almost hear him chuckling good-naturedly as he says, "If there were no laughter, the Tao would not be what it is." Lao Tzu is not threatened or offended by the ridicule others hurl at him because of his beliefs and the way he lives his life. Instead, he has learned to take it, like all things, in his stride. He understood that the counterintuitive nature of the principles he taught were sure to invite people to laugh. Were it not so, it would not be Tao. By very nature, true principles often seem like foolishness to those who do not adhere to them. Philosophers, religious leaders, even great scientists have always been scoffed at for expounding true principles. When a really groundbreaking scientific discovery is made, the discoverer is often treated with contempt, until it later becomes obvious through more research and experimentation that they were right. Many people are far more likely to scoff at new ideas than to try and implement them into their lives. It's little wonder that this should be the case with the Tao. To many people, it will seem that those who follow the Tao are just falling behind. This is natural, and one can see why a person would think this. After all, a person following the Tao is often led by the Tao to not act at all, while everyone else around him or her is racing ahead. But when they do act, the follower of the Tao more than makes up for the previous inaction. They are like a cannon, which may take some time to load and aim, but when it is finally ready, vastly outranges other handheld firearms. Rather than frantically running around like everyone else, obsessed with the idea of quickly making visible progress so that they can be admired by their peers, they wait until the time is just right, and then, guided by intuition, they make their move, and it is clear that it was worth the wait. Although the path of the Tao really is easier in the long run, in the short term, it looks excruciatingly difficult. So difficult, in fact, that few people will be willing to attempt it. The path of the Tao, although it steers away from unnecessary striving and action in a physical and visible sense, causes a person to have to do a lot of work on themselves. This isn't work in the way that we usually think of work, but anyone who has attempted to work on the self will not be able to deny that it is indeed its own kind of work. Learning to put aside desires and become susceptible to the pushes and pulls of the Tao requires the unlearning of ideas and habits that for most people have become almost second nature. What is the point of putting in all this work to adopt a philosophy that seems to steer one in the opposite direction of everything that we have ever been taught to value as success? To many people, this seems like utter madness. However, humble followers of the Tao find that in the long term, the path of the Tao is actually much easier. All this learning and unlearning makes them more responsive and sensitive to the flow and contours of life. With this sensitivity, they are able to eliminate much unnecessary effort and striving. Thus, as they appear to be going backward, they are actually moving forward. At the same time that they may appear weak or impotent, they increase in strength. They are not concerned that their efforts do not show on the outside, because that is not why they were in the game in the first place. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time for Chapter 42. Peace and blessings.